Our church has an incredible history. You may know the story, you may not. But in 1969, 13 families were sent to Fort Worth, Texas to start a new church. This church was called Southwest Christian Church. And it was in faith that these 13 families stepped out and believed that God would use them to make an impact for his kingdom. Over the years, there were great seasons of impact and fruitfulness. But like in every church, there were also seasons of pruning and challenge. In 2018, during one of those seasons of pruning and challenge, this church found itself without a pastor. And the elders and the people of the church began praying that God would send them someone to help lead the church into a new season, a season of impact and fruitfulness. To make a long story short, Brittany and I, along with the elders of the church, knew God was calling us to lead this church forward. In the first year, our goal was to reestablish the mission, the Great Commission, Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 through 20, where Jesus came to his disciples and said, "I have been given all authority in heaven and earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these disciples to obey all that I have commanded you, and I will be with you to the end of the age." And within the first year, we begin to see God move. We saw new people start showing up, and the church began to see glimpses of fruitfulness once again. But as we approached the 50-year anniversary of the church, we knew that God was calling us to make a big shift by relaunching the church under a new name. So in February of 2019, as we celebrated the history of the church and all that God had done, we also looked to the future for what God was going to do. And we became Trademark Church, a church that loves, serves, and leads people to a fulfilling life in Jesus. And I don't think that any of us could have imagined what God would do next. Since the relaunch in 2019, we have seen God move in miraculous ways. 425 people have been baptized. Attendance has increased year after year with nearly an 80% increase since relaunch. Thousands of guests have come through our doors, and nearly 2,000 people have found community through our groups. Hundreds have stepped into serving. Over $1 million has been given in mission and outreach initiatives. And since 2019, one of my favorite things about our church is that not a single person has come to us with a tangible need that we have not been able to help meet in some way. So why do I share all of this? Well, first, because it's important for us to pause and celebrate what God has done. But second, this is who we are. We are a kingdom-building church. We celebrate what God has done, but we also know this about our God. He's never done working, which means there is still work to be done, there's impact to be made, and there are people to be reached. So as we look to the future of our church, we know that God is calling us to make an even greater impact for his kingdom by making room for more and more people to come through these doors and experience Jesus, to find community, to become disciples, and be a part of building the church. And so just like those 13 families in 1969 stepped out in faith, believing that God would use them to make kingdom impact, we are stepping out in faith this year by launching an 18-month vision initiative called Make Room. Because here's the truth. God is moving in this place, and he is calling us to be a church that continues to partner with him to see his kingdom come, to see his will be done right here in Southwest Fort Worth as it is in heaven. Over the next 18 months, there are 5 phases of the Make Room Vision Initiative that we will be setting out to accomplish. These phases will include a complete renovation and upgrade to our worship center, allowing us to grow our seating capacity by 46%. We're going to be adding 150 to 200 additional parking spaces so that our volunteers and guests will have an easier and more hospitable experience upon arrival. We'll also be expanding our lobby space and kids check-in area so that more community and conversation can happen on Sunday mornings. We'll be building a garden courtyard for additional space to accommodate small groups, youth activities, and prayer gatherings. And lastly, one of my favorite pieces about this initiative is that we will be launching Trademark Espanol on Sunday evenings to reach the incredible Spanish-speaking community of Fort Worth. So here's my ask of you. First, would you just simply pray that God would continue to move in and through our church to make an impact for his kingdom? And secondly, would you also prayerfully consider partnering with us financially to see this vision initiative become a reality? To him be the glory in all things.